We're back live. I am trying to mess with the bike light here and get enough light to keep going. It's been an interesting few days. I kind of always thought this would be my place to just keep like my own mental diary as well as just whatever else. So life's been a little interesting lately. Just dealing with the normal ups and downs of how things go and finding my own sanity within it all. I think that's straight, but nothing super unusual here. Flip the camera around, I think it's all clean. Pointed here at the car. So, a bit of progress since the last time we all saw what was up. I can't zoom here, so we'll just do it as it is. So got a bit of bad news. The wiring harness that I had, and I thought I was sending to get swapped, isn't really even a legitimate harness that's complete. So I have to figure out what the course of action is here in order to keep going. It's disappointing for me because I felt like I was making okay progress. I don't usually talk about anything personal while we're on here, but given that this is a personal channel and, I like to be a normal person who talks about normal person things, I figured this is a decent time for me to talk about some other stuff. Who's gonna come across this? When's that gonna happen? What's gonna be the circumstances around that? I don't know. Life is weird, and a lot of things can happen very quickly. And so it's really most important to be honest with yourself and who you are, and for me it's important for me to be honest about where I'm at and how things are going, and most everybody who knows me knows to some degree that I occasionally have struggled with depression, and it's showed up in many different ways over the years. I think there's been a few times in my past when I've dealt with racism and the way in which it can show its head for worse type reasons, despite your best intentions to just be a good person. And it's a little bit of what I've been dealing with lately. And where most people suggest the obvious and say, well, don't let it get to you. Unfortunately, I'm just the type of dude that it does tend to get to. So I wanted to be honest about that being something that I deal with and have been dealing with lately. And you know, as much as I wouldn't like it to affect the fact that I'm trying to do something that I care about and, you know, feel passionate about, the reality is that it has, and I've been kind of struggling a bit with my own journey with this build and wondering how far over my head I am, and, you know, whether or not anything good will come of this in the long run. You know, I really just want to do this for myself and be able to say that I've done it, and I prefer not to be struggling mentally, but the only way out is through is kind of the way it goes, and I'm trying to keep my sanity and remind myself that sometimes I just gotta keep pushing. So that's enough about me and what's going on with me. So yeah, let's get to the actual business end of things. I found out this week that the wiring harness that I sent out was not the complete wiring harness that I thought it was. It's missing a bunch of pieces, and it's not what is required for doing the wiring merge and eventually the swap. And so, much to my dismay, that is the news that came out of the shop this week. And so, as ever, we go back to the drawing board and try and figure out what comes next and keep our sanity while doing it. Let's see. So this car still has a mostly complete wiring harness. The caveat to that statement being that it is still a incomplete harness. Given that it belongs to two different cars. Or rather, what is required for the swap is parts from two different cars, and I still don't know what I'm missing. So it's going to be a process, and while I never assumed it was going to be straightforward, I had hoped that it would be straightforward, and straightforward it is not. So there'll be a little bit of reassessing and going back to the drawing board and figuring out what to do, but in the meantime, I just gotta keep trying, and we'll figure it out eventually. Whoop! Camera trying to fall on me. Let's see. Let's extend this leg. So we've got the knuckle off. Last time I ended up finding a nice and cheap ball joint press. So the axle's out of the hub is out of the car. Now we're staring basically at the axle end, which is on the control arm here. This is the ABS sensor. As you can see, the bottom of the strut, the brake line is all disconnected and just kind of hanging out here. those are things that I may reuse or I may find new ones of down the road here. But in the meantime, this is the sway bar end link here, the U-frame, and this here is attaching to the subframe. The subframe is still what I actually need to get out and figure out how to get out. So really it's trying to continue to disconnect stuff and coax them out, and hopefully find myself with more and more parts in my hands as we go along here. So I was saying a little bit ago when the video started, I'm just gonna keep trying to push through and keep going so long as I've got the mental capacity to keep going. If I hit that wall and I gotta stop, then I just gotta listen to my brain and body, and we'll take it as it comes. In the meantime, I appreciate you being here, and let's see what happens. All right. So that's a sway bar and link over here. Doesn't want to move. I'll have to attack it from the other side, but first I'm gonna try and undo the other side here. Not quite. Is it a 12? It is now. It's spinning, but it doesn't want to come undone. So this one is we'll have to figure it out later, I guess. Let's see. Will this fit? No. Alright, let's try some stuff. Okay, so that sucked. This is a little bit bigger again. Alright, well, let's take it over to the other side, I guess, and do a little more spraying. Let's see, I've been working on freeing up the harness here at the front. You can see it going under the AC coolant, across, and then back up here to the box, and then of course across the back side and into the firewall. So little bits of work, or little bits of progress rather. I was hoping to get the whole front out, but these things are rarely as straightforward as you hope them to be. Let's take a look inside real quick. Finally got the timing cover off and the pulley and the gear, so I have an engine to look at a little more plainly. There's still a bunch of little things that have to come off before I take the full timing set off. And then, in here it's pretty bare bones. We've made a decent amount of progress, I would say. Yeah, that's a pretty decent angle. Let's bring it up a little more. Oop. Right about there, okay. So this is all part of the harness that has to come out now. I think I'll just start up here and just keep pulling stuff out and hope for the best, I guess. Remember, when you hear rattling inside your Subaru, it's usually because these things have come loose. There's a few ways to fix that, whether you use rubber spacers or something else. Um, nice. The felt up here is actually in really good condition. And now comes the 4 to 6 bolts that holds everything together. Probably. Let's look. Too small, I think. Okay. Okay, let's bring you up. So we've got our main 6 bolts out now at this point, and so we're looking at everything is loose. However, let me a little further down here real quick. However, we have some airbag clips going up and around. We've got main one there. You can see the bulkhead. So this is the actual metal frame that all of this mounts to. And so you can see where the dash is going to have to come apart. You can kind of see where it goes to the airbox and, sorry, let me unblock the light there, to the airbox and through the firewall back there even. With the S's on it, I think we can visualize the S's. There it is back there. So lots going on here. I'm still trying to figure out what's holding the vent all in. I would assume it just pops out and we deal with the afterwards, but definitely is still attached to something. I still can't figure out what that is. So a little more figuring out of which wires are connected where that need to come undone. These ones we know about. Let's put us down and point the light. So this one here, cool, fantastic. This is fine. This is okay. I gotta undo some clips here. Maybe I can. Nope. Probably grab a pair of pliers. 1 second. So, 40 minutes in, nothing but frustration. This is how it's been. This is how it's been for a lot of it. The interior came out relatively easily once you figured out what's happening. The flow was okay. But I got the 6 bolts out for this. I have to figure out what else needs to get unplugged. We'll see. I think probably just need to call it for today. I don't know. I feel very scatterbrained, and I think I was talking about being frustrated about some of the news this week about the wiring harness I sent off to get merged not being legit, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me a bit. Just feeling like, what am I doing, and why do all the hard work if, you run into a bunch of roadblocks, but, just gotta keep at it and stay persistent. The axle is ready to come out. I just don't know what the last step is that I'm missing. I was hoping that this side would just pop out and I can move on to the other side, but it doesn't seem to be the case this time around. If you can see back here, let's see, I'll try and do one of these. We still have a good amount of stuff to take off, front, back, sides. Doing it on your own is not easy, and I commend everyone who does. But one day at a time. I think some progress every day is okay. I think it's better to stop when you're feeling frustrated than to try and push through, and that's when you start breaking stuff and getting frustrated and potentially getting injured. And despite the frustration, I'd rather have the mental and physical capacity to come back and do it another day. Off camera, I'll try and make progress. I think, there's a reason why professionals are professionals and amateurs are amateurs, and the amateurs are usually the ones who have enough patience to eventually become professionals, and then you have the ones that just kind of keep going, and they still don't know what they're doing at the end, and I feel like I kind of fall into that category. So that's it. Flip this camera around again. Oh, it's bright. There we go. Glasses are super dirty. If you didn't know by my squinting, I can't see. My vision's pretty bad. That's okay. So I have these. Anyways, we'll keep fighting another day. Have a good one.